Hello everyone, and welcome yet again to another episode of Gardening with Colin. I am your host, as always, Colin Caulfield. About 4 months ago, I moved to Los Angeles, and the majority of my free time has been spent working on my front yard and garden, tirelessly and without rest. But now I think it's about time that I put a little work into my bedroom. We've already got a really good start in here. It gets good light, and I also painted the walls pink because why not? But I think the next step is me going to the nursery today and spending all of my expendable income on houseplants. And with that, I offer you a very sincere invitation to today's episode, in which we'll be talking about the do's and the don'ts of indoor gardening. So, first things first, you may have noticed that we're not at Home Depot right now, which is chill because Home Depot is more of a one-stop shop for gardening. It's not a place you go to buy plants if you're trying to create a vibe. However, a place like this, Echo Garden in Highland Park, has a ridiculous assortment of plants. Just truly impressive. I don't even know how they keep them all alive. Anyway, sorry, got a little lost in thought there because I love plants so much. Tip number 1 for indoor gardening is that you have to do your homework. You hear that, kids? You have to do your homework. And I stress that because it's tempting to buy plants purely based on aesthetics because you're basically putting a piece of furniture in your apartment. But you have to make sure that it's the right plant for the right room. Otherwise, it's gonna die and you're gonna be really sad. Luckily, nowadays, doing your research is very easy because you essentially have an encyclopedia in your pocket. Have you ever thought about that? Technology is so crazy. However, sometimes the name of the plant won't be listed and you're gonna have to ask the attendant to help you out. And the very nice lady just told me many things about this plant and I already forgot the name, but it looks like it's gonna work out. If you don't wanna go to the trouble of taking care of one of those big fancy plants, or you just don't want to spend that much money, you can always go with succulents, which come in a crazy variety and are pretty affordable. And on top of that, they're really easy to take care of, they don't need that much water, and they do well in dry conditions. Sorry, I gotta stop doing that. Here's the haul, everyone. Got it loaded into the vehicle. I gotta go pick one more up that's over there, but she did give me a free orange flower because I'm such a nice man, apparently, and that's very touching. So let's end it on a good note and head back to the crib and set these bad boys up. Transition. Real quickly, I would love to give you 2 tips about pots, because I know you're sitting there thinking, Colin, when are we going to talk about pots? In order to illustrate these tips, let's take a look at this hanging pot that I found. Number 1, it doesn't have any holes, which means that the water will not be able to drain when you're watering the plants, which could lead to the bottoms of the roots rotting and dying a slow, miserable death. In the case of this pot, I actually think there's a piece missing from IKEA that would go on the bottom, allowing the water to drain. But you know what? I'm not fucking going back to that place. I'm not gonna do it. Luckily, we have this stuff called pumice stone. Pumice stone is actually usually mixed into the soil to improve drainage. So if you have soil that's too dense and the water isn't getting down to the roots, you add a bit of this stone. But right now, we can just add a layer to the pot, and it'll create a barrier between the pot and the roots. The second thing about this pot is that it's kind of designed to be home to multiple different plants, but there's a problem there. If you mix different types of plants that have different water requirements, it's not going to work, because you'll be watering for one, and one will get too much or too little and probably die. However, that's only really an issue if you decide to remove the plants from the pots that they come in when you buy them. If you don't remove them, you can keep them separate and water them separately. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right here, because they're overhanging. You can't really tell they're in the pots. We're going to go ahead and skip a day, because this episode actually is taking me a long time. It's taking me a long time, and no one's paying me to do this, you guys. But you know what? Money's not everything, you know? I love the work. I love these plants. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Let's check it out. I think I did a pretty good job. I think it looks pretty cool in here. There are a couple tips before I go that I'll show you right now that'll help you if you want to have houseplants as well. The first tip is about succulents. Like I mentioned earlier, they're pretty easy to take care of and they don't need that much water. But when you do water them about once a week, you have to soak the pot. You have to make it so the water runs through, which is generally not how you water plants. So that's tip number one. The second tip involves a little bit of cheap string like I got right here. I tied this to this, I think it's called a chaparral. Could be wrong. Chaparella? Chaparella! Anyway, I bought this plant because it had a nice curve and I wanted it to hang over the bed. But when I installed it, it wasn't really doing it. So I just tied a bit of string and I'm gently pulling it to guide the plant to grow over the bed. The third tip is, of course, to give your plants a little kiss every day. At least one kiss per plant. If you don't do it, terrible things will happen and you really don't want to see it. It's dark. The fourth and likely most important tip is to just observe your plants, you know? Listen to them. Even if you've done your homework and you think you know exactly how to take care of a plant, it might not work. You just gotta play it by ear and be generous and caring. And if you are generous and caring with them, they're gonna reward you. They're great companions to have in a house, especially if you're single and alone. I'm just kidding. I'm single, and I'm alone, I guess. Fuck. But really, this whole taking care of plants thing that I've been doing for some reason is really special to me, and it provides a lot of calm in my life, and I strongly suggest that anyone who's interested goes out and buys a couple houseplants. And scene. That's a wrap for episode 6, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope it's been a break from all the bullshit going on in the world. Thanks also for all the messages you've been sending me about how you're liking the show. It means a lot to me. As always, I am your host, Colin Caulfield. See you next time.